but there's a rich cross-section of a variety of people in the diocese. Recusant families, we have our share of martyrs and saints, some still alive. In the millennium year, we had, I think it was 26,000 Catholics gathered in the football stadium in Middlesbrough to celebrate the millennium. I think now we have about 16,000 mass-going Catholics, so that's quite interesting. What do we look like in structures? We've got about 71 parishes now, which is an enormous deanery in the four large areas of the diocese. We have 59 schools, and the services that serve the diocese are a huge vicariate for evangelisation, adult formation, education and youth. That's all one. And then discipleship, under which marriage and family life used to come, but since the funding stopped, we don't have a marriage and family life worker anymore. Liturgy and spirituality, clergy. We have a bunch of trained people, commission page with real on-the-ground families. How do we invite families who we don't see in church on a Sunday? How do we get real-life experiences and make connections with them, with us, and our faith? Looking at the particular roles, as Elizabeth said, and to try and understand one another's roles, the complementary gifts, and how can we be that link in the great chain of believers, which was a quote from the Catechism used by Bishop John in his letter to all participants in the project. Fundamentally important for us to create an environment, and the environment was one of hospitality. Hospitality, we felt, that is fundamentally God's initiative. So it's God's hospitality for us, and that's what we want to model or be. We want to be who we say we are and what we believe. So that warm, genuine hospitality is absolutely key, to have that predisposition to engage and to listen and put the human face on it. Really vital. It's obvious, recognising Christ in the stranger, and that listening and walking alongside and very respectful. So the partnership and the co-responsibility is about trusting the partners, trusting the parents, trusting in the sincerity of the families and the treasure that they bring to us was absolutely vital. And then to help develop that sense of belonging, which again, you're welcome, you're part of us. We're incomplete without you. Whatever shape or size your family is, and whatever problems or difficulties you have, you're part of us. And the home is a holy place thing bubbling away underneath the whole time. It's love in action, and we recognise that. And the power of any process to engage, we felt, is going to be built on strengths instead of trying to combat what we perceive to be weaknesses. We're really looking for strengths, and to uncover the light that's there and lift it up instead of hide it under a basket of negativity. So what we did, we set up the pilot in 6 areas of the diocese. It was fairly randomly chosen, but we wanted it to be all over the diocese. Each had its own context and its own particular response to need. So, for example, in Hull, a massive city, they've got a very strong schools network. Every single head teacher came to the Passing on the Faith meeting in Hull. It was fantastic. That was very strong. Redcar in the north of the diocese undergoing a very painful restructuring at the moment. So they were all there for other reasons. Thornaby is a very deprived area. A lot of asylum seekers, the schools are packed to bursting, and they have a real passion in the schools for evangelisation and for meeting the needs of the families who come. And then one parish in rural North Yorkshire said, well, the rural parishes never get anything. And so that was a one parish, one school meeting, which again had a different dynamic. So 2 stages, that homeschool parish conversation, and then a second stage, a second meeting to reflect, and I'll say a little bit more about that, describe dream design. we decided to use the process of appreciative inquiry, particularly for that second session. So it was rather moving from a sort of medical diagnostic model. So you describe the problem, the presenting problem, and then you analyse, you fix the problem, and then you end up, the outcome would be the elimination of the problem. That would be the best outcome. We decided to move to a strengths-based model of action research. So what works around here, what might be, and what should be, and then let's make what should be happen. And so that infuses everybody with energy and a sense of possibilities, of visions. And I just feel, and I've experienced, and I'm sure you have too, there's real energy around when you take a positive approach, even when there appears to be a crisis. And this energy can be used to look at what is right and what is good, and we can rediscover that good that is there, that continues to be generated every day within the lives of our families and within the lives of the church, and to build on that. And then when you start looking at it, you realise, gosh, this is who we are. And it's like the Emmaus Walk all over again, and I don't have to go into the detail of that, but it's transformative stories, and then we recognise who we are, and it's very energising, even in a crisis. So stage one was the invitation was really, really important, and I'm sure you'll hear that in each of the groups. That warm personal invitation to the teachers, the head teachers, to get in touch with them, to speak to them, to speak to the RE coordinators. So I went and talked to groups of head teachers, groups of RE coordinators and governors, and said what this was about. Talked to parish priests and catechists, lay fears, and then agreed dates with those two, and asked them to hand out personally invitation to parents, grandparents, whoever they thought, and some of them may be school parents who are not practicing. I said, let's have a rich mix and listen to the different people. And I think it was very difficult to assess the level of interest, at the outset, but in the doing of it, however many people were at the groups, it was hugely energetic, and people just didn't want to leave at the end. We'd obviously touched on something very important, so we said, yes, there'll be another meeting, come back and let's reflect a bit more deeply. We had the conversation, stage one, immediately after school, tea and cake. Again, real lovely hospitality. The schools were brilliant and organised that. Welcome and friendly introduction by the Holy Spirit. And then we had a little bit of input, like we had this morning, on the background of the project, and then we moved straight into these conversations. There was a facilitator for each group and a scribe, somebody who recorded. So we recorded everything that everybody said. What does pastoral faith mean to you? What's your role? What support do you need? What are the other partners' roles? So to see what the expectations were. A very short plenary, and then an invitation to stage two. And this was a sort of example of the slideshow really. We'd have pictures of the children in school, pictures of the church and the parishioners in a map of where it was, and then a quote from the Sunday Gospel. It's wonderful for us to be here. That particular Sunday, it happened to be Mark 9:4. But and then we'd explore that scripture for a little bit in prayer at the beginning. We had a message from our own bishop, who was very much behind the project, and in each place where we met, we had a different picture of the bishop in that particular area. So one, he had a hard hat on at the building site, which was quite funny. Anyway, and he was behind it. And we also had Bishop John Hines' letter encouraging all the people who came to the meetings. Now, these are some of the things that we heard. And again, they won't be new to you, you have heard them, but it was good to hear parents actually speaking for themselves about, honestly, how they felt. So, major scary responsibility, said some. How do we do it? We don't feel equipped. What does it mean? A huge one was we feel judged for our lives. Please don't play the blame game. You know, I want my children to grow up believing something, but I need help with that. I want more dialogue, more opportunities to get together and chat, and more invitation and sense of welcome and inclusion, really, not just paying lip service to it. Some parents said those transition years are really tough, and we find it so hard because we're not in touch at the secondary school level. You know, what's going on? So schools really, I hope, took note, well, they did take note of that. And then the primary school, a parent was very moved. She said, the school has really helped us in our difficult times. You know, making pathways for them into faith too. Our kids are good, we share values. Preparing for sacraments is powerful. We're on the journey too, they said. It's lovely. And we get a great lived experience, an experience of lived faith through the school. I've really felt listened to in this pilot, and we need to be listened to and help us to realise that our love is really good stuff, you know. We love our children and try to live good lives. We choose a Catholic school, and we get involved and we value what we get through the Catholic school. We need family-sensitive Mass and other experiences in school and parish. And we need help with resources and knowledge of the faith to make connections with that at home. There was, you can imagine, lots and lots of stuff all around that. Schools said about the parents, first teachers, but what does this mean in practice was the big question. And we offer what is often the first experience of church with a capital C in the school. And we need to be really careful that we offer milk and not solid food. You know, really small things that can make connections with them. Very obvious that the teachers had said that the parents learn from their children and they bring their parents in. And then schools were saying we don't feel supported by the parish as we get alongside families in faith matters, because parishes say that's our job. And so when it comes to children coming and asking for baptism or First Communion, we want to work more in a collaborative partnership, and sometimes we're not getting that, you know, invitation. I don't know, it was a big challenge, that one. And then another big question was, why would they want to come to church? What's there for them, you know, rather than... And then they said, perhaps that's the better question. Why would they want to come to church rather than they need to come to church? They felt that would help us to get our response to parents right. They want to come because they get a warm welcome, a sense of belonging, and something that speaks into their lives and gives them meaning and purpose. And the atmosphere of the community, the attitude. Another thing that came out, they want to help parents see sacraments as gifts for life and beginnings, and I think you'll hear that in other presentations too. Beginnings. How do we as a school listen to parents and get to the heart? What opportunities can we create to listen to them? And to live the faith of their children, what does this mean? They'll tell us that that's what they want to do, but what does it mean? And they need open, receptive clergy. Often the schools are saying, we provide something really special for them. And then when they go to church, they don't get anything that's vaguely even resembling that. So. Then the parishes, what did they say about the parents' role? They said the parents' role was to participate in the life of the community, but then they also recognised that we, the parish, need to create opportunities for authentic experience, and that may not just be come to Mass. To bring the children to church was a parish point of view. For sacraments, and they said parents can be a barrier to the children. And they said school is not an alternative to parish. So quite challenging stuff there. Parents to develop a living faith, and how do we help them? Parents need dialogue and opportunities with parish. They need to be listened to. And that was heartfelt, which it was good. And then recognising we don't always support and value parents. And we don't think of it as a partnership with them. We see them as a problem when actually there's no substitute for what they're doing. So it was coming through to that realisation through the discussion. And then there was a question, by passing on faith, are we talking about doctrine? And some people said yes, and other people said no, we're talking about relationships first. There was lots of misapprehension about the different roles of homeschool and parish and very high expectations of the other. And sometimes the parish said parents perceive there's an inner circle when they come in. Stage 2, reflection. The second meeting was to go deeper really, so to describe, to have a deeper reflection on what we've heard. And these are some of the things that we heard. What was lovely for me was the power of liturgy. You know, you produce some really lovely liturgy of the word, some very simple symbolic action, and or you get the children to act out something, and then the parents are all there watching, and you invite the parents for a cup of tea afterwards, and what did you see and what did you hear? And absolutely spine-tingling stuff, wonderful. And then we had a bit of a dream from those, at this meeting, from the conversations, what do we want to do? And it was, you know, not rocket science. Let's build really good personal relationships. Let's communicate. Let's build on afternoon experiences of liturgy and fun together. Let's share the gospel through who we are, our way of life. And let's share the word and not be frightened of sharing the word. Creating pathways, you belong. And then design a practical action where to set up homeschool parish ministry teams, to nominate 2 from the parish, parents, 2 from the school, to work with the key leadership team to help come up with some creative ways forward. And that might be a hospitality focus in the school with the Sunday gospel there, and that you have sessions on the liturgical experiences, evangelization, opportunities, family catechesis, journey of faith, lots of them asking for baptism for their children and then want to join the journey themselves. So, you know, to help people to understand what that is. Parenting programs, listening, and rainbows training, and marriage preparation. Conclusion, what we've learnt. It generated huge enthusiasm. It was a real lovely buzz about it, every single group, and it was a kickstart for a new sense of co-responsibility. Very easy. You could do it with one parish and one school and some parents, or you could do it in a deanery group. It's a very easy standalone model for any parish or school to engage in. It's good to do it in a small area because you really hear the voices and you know the people, hopefully. Create any sort of opportunities you can to listen to parents, we found. And to use that appreciative inquiry, you know, building on affirmation as the underlying principle. And it's continually emerging.